You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy, live on Awake Radio, I think, because we can't get their player, so I'm not 100% sure, but it says my signal is going there as well, so either that or I am communicating live with aliens right now. And of course, TurtleIslandNews.info and Revolution Radio Studio A. Good morning, everybody. I will come over and say hi, but too many windows open at this point. And Wolf Spirit Radio. How are you guys doing? Are you doing good? I hope you are. We have a lot of news today. I'm going to do the best I can with it. I have to apologize to the people who came to hear my show last night, 3 minutes towards midnight. Apparently, our alien overlords decided that my time should be used elsewhere. I remember falling asleep. I don't get any kind of abduction experiences that I can tell you about. But this morning I woke up to a barrage of pictures of people showing what looked like UFO activity heading towards my house, circling around my building, which is a great white obelisk, by the way, and leaving. What that was, I don't know. For people who are listening to Kesh as well, he kind of explained early this morning, our time, or late last night, depending on where you live on this beautiful planet, that it seems we are the UFOs, or some of us are the UFOs, and others, we all traveled this way, long story short. And it's interesting because, I don't know. It's interesting because there's so many events going on right now. Strange things. It looks like Texas is under attack, not just from themselves right now, but this planet. So I've been sitting here trying to think of how to attack today. How to go and open this up. These false flag events. I'm going to have to take you back in time a little bit. Let's do it that way. If you guys have been listening to me for a while, and I love the fact that some of you have, know that we talked about certain events that happened this year and last year in preparation for what's about to happen. Now, on April 27th, this is back in 2014, the Vatican, Rome, the square, a ceremony was held to induct 2 former popes into sainthood. But there is another announcement made, a declaration to the world. The Pope broadcast this event in 3D, HD, and 4K. The entire world had the ability to watch this ceremony, this event, right as it happened. But why go through all that trouble? Why did the Pope want the world to see this? That's when I was saying I thought the one who was singing this might be the next Pope to come up, but they went a different way. They sang us this song. Flamos ios Lucifer matunius invanti. his flame drawing his own creation, or his flame dawning his own creation. There's arguing about what this means. May I say, O Lucifer, who knows no setting, Christ, your Son, who came back from the dead and shed his peaceful life to the human race. Yeah, it doesn't sound any better in Italian. Latin. And is alive and reigns forever and ever. And they all say, Amen. You would think that those are a little strange words to say in a church, right? This is Pope Francis declaring Lucifer as God. Lucifer was declared God. Now, I've got nothing against Lucifer, and as I've told you, Lucifer and Satan, two different sides. Each of them have two different sides, of course. Why should we care? Doesn't matter. So, if we open a page from the Bible, thou art fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. Thou art cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also on the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make and be like the Most High. This is from Isaiah. Interesting passage, considering most of the stuff was written fairly recently. Of course, you know, I think that. But the events that are unfolding in front of us daily, I just don't think they could be ignored. And know that Lucifer and Satan are linked. Some say this: Lucifer and Satan are two completely different beings. Myself, I'm leaning towards two completely different planets. But also, brother and sister, the twins that I talked about in that passage I didn't want to read, but I will read it. Not today, but soon. We're working up to there. These are the twins. This is a male and a female, and each of them have a male and a female. And Lucifer is a Latinized version of one of the older names, Hallel, which means son of the morning or light bearer. Should we be afraid? I don't know. I don't think so. Tracey Kennedy means the bringer of light. Aruya, which is Mohawk, my Mohawk name, means first light in the morning. If it's me, we're good. And I'm not saying, oh my God, Tracey's the Antichrist. No, that's something else, obviously. But it's really odd, some of the things that are going on right now. And I can't tell you the news, which I had planned on doing just a full-blown news story show today. I was just going to read you the news, tell you the links, but, you know, the esoteric keeps being thrown in my face. So one dead, one injured, after a suspect armed with a gun and a hatchet, because, obviously the gun may run out of bullets, opens fire on Mad Max showing at a Nashville movie theater. Really? I believe anything that has happened or will happen between July 15th and September 15th is Jade Helm related. That's it. And police shut down this busy movie theater in Nashville after a gunman staged an attack. Funny, that's their words, not mine. Inside the screening of Mad Max, SWAT team cordoned off the area in Antioch, Antioch, which I have to go into because that's a new word for me and apparently an ancient word. Who knew? And that's a place in Tennessee. It's interesting the names that were picked. I'm sure that's not a native name. Now, this happened Wednesday. Short time later, the suspect, who was armed with a gun and again a hatchet, shot dead by the police towards the back of the theater. One person wounded, of course, after they were attacked with the bladed weapon, which is also an interesting term. I'm like, oh my God, guys, you're not just going to say that to me. It comes 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, again, after John Russell Hosier opened fire in Lafayette, Louisiana, another theater, so staging, killing 2 people, injuring 9, during a showing of a movie called Trainwreck. Yeah, I'm seeing the Trainwreck references of our planet over and over again. So, Antioch, most likely its closest, was an ancient Greek city, eastern side of the, Orontes River. Its ruins lie near the modern city of Antakya, Turkey. And this is how words change, names change, but it's still the same name. That's why I play with names a little bit and numbers, because you can just do that. They change. So it leads to its modern name, of course. Antioch the Great, in Armenian. This name is used in Turkish, Arabic, Persian, Syriac, from Syria, Hebrew, Georgian, Latin, as a result of its longevity. Well, it was founded, as far as we know, 4th century, by one of Alexander the Great's generals. It's a very strategic, geographic, military, economic location, particularly for the spice trade and the Silk Road, and the Persian Royal Road benefits its occupants, and of course the spice must flow. Are these things accidents? I don't think so. I don't. With the sociopaths running the world, and let's look at them for a minute. Because even in children's movies, we are seeing the sociopaths as something funny. The funny bad guy. And they're not as hilarious as you might think. Sociopaths are, in general, charming, have huge charisma, and tend to attract a following. Just because people want to be around them, they have a glow. They're lit up from inside. And something like that attracts people who typically seek guidance or direction or enslavement or submission and just don't know that. They often appear to be very sexy, have a strong sexual attraction, and not all sexy people are sociopaths, obviously, but watch out for the over-the-top sexual appetites and the weird fetishes. And sociopaths are more spontaneous and intense than other people. They tend to do bizarre, sometimes erratic things. Well, the most regular people just wouldn't do. You don't go there. But they are unbound, unchained by normal social contracts. Their behavior often just seems irrational and extremely risky, and/or you should combo both. With these guys, you're getting the combo platter of crazy. Sociopaths are incapable of feeling shame or guilt or remorse. They can't. Their brains simply lack the circuitry to express any such emotion. This allows them to betray, to threaten, to harm without giving a second thought. They pursue any action that serves their own self-interest, even if it harms others. This is why you will find very many successful psychopaths in high levels of radio and television. Psychopaths invent outrageous things, especially about what they experience. They wildly exaggerate to the point of absurdity. They describe it to you in a storytelling format. For some reason it sounds believable, though. And sociopaths seek to dominate others and win at all costs. They hate to lose any argument, any fight, any common verbal sparring, and will viciously defend their deep web of lies to the point of logical absurdity. That's why so many of the so-called, what do we even call them, light workers, who turn suddenly dark, like quickly dark, they do this. Well, part of it is because they're working for somebody. But these beings are picked. They are picked purposely. It is why you get Alex Jones, who I can't understand how anyone listened to this guy. And I am one of the people who listened to him for about 5 minutes. You know, we hear the screamer first. I always think there's a war on for your spleen when I hear this guy, and apparently he has fled your country, United States, of the immaculate incarceration right now. Have we been cursed? Because there is a full-scale horror show going on right now. Freak show. And I think we need to talk about this before we move on. What do we do? Standing in this crazy kind of environment where the dark sun and the light sun have rejoined, and they're sitting at the center again. First and foremost, clear to me that the bulk of energy needed to perpetuate any type of curse is a certain amount of acknowledgement of the one who believes they have been cursed. You're kind of digging it. I know it sounds awful. Don't blame yourself. Don't beat yourself up for this. We have been trained to be kind of pain slutty a little bit. We are being tested to see how much we can take at this moment. At what point does everyone break? At what point do the weak fall? At what point do the strong get stronger? Because, like heating metals, and then dipping it into the cold. That makes metals stronger, harder, sharper. Some of us are crumbling at what's going on at this time. Others of us are getting stronger, physically, mentally, and emotionally. We feel that. We know that. Others are assuming the position on their knees, sitting in a corner, thumb in mouth, rocking back and forth. And I realize there are beings around us right now that can suck the niceness right out of you. It's like you're being attacked by suckerfish and they're just hicking you to death. You know what a hickey is? I realize we have people from all over the world. You know that mark you make if someone sucks on their skin? That's a hickey. Anyway, I think there's very few instances that someone has worked darkness in secret against someone else who knew nothing about that person, and it came to fruition. It bared fruit, if you like. I don't think so. I don't think there's very few that can do that, other than the ones that are constantly doing this. Same time of day, same ritual, repeated over and over again, possibly for generations. That, absolutely, I believe in. The 12 o'clock, which I apparently cannot stay up till. I can't. And the afternoon. The noon hour. It's never precisely at 12 anywhere in the world. It's usually 12:03 or 1:03, and you can look it up. It's important. And it's known for everywhere you live on this planet, because somebody else other than me thinks this time is important. Sunrise, the middle of the day, sunset. These are the 3 times that we can use to protect ourselves. They're very important. Very important. 12 o'clock at night, apparently, no. I gotta sleep. I gotta sleep. Either that or I'm being abducted by aliens and they're messing with me. I have not been anal probed, so don't even ask. I felt no probing going on, but I do have that weird mark on my belly. We'll talk about that after. I can show you. Want to see my belly? So, there's generally some type of connection between both parties. There are exchanging of energies going on some level or another that leave an impression inside each other's consciousness. There was some sort of joining, basically. Even in the instance that governmental and religious magi's work spells on its denizens, they are not without knowing their proclaimed leaders and refer to them as president, prime minister, pastor, whatever. Of course, many realizing this, disavowing from such entities and hierarchies, actually acquire some spiritual sovereignty by the actions of removing yourself from these ideas. It's important to bring up, I think, because it shines light to the fact that many often curse. Yes, using foul language and or negative thoughts repeatedly. It's the repetition that builds up this power. It's funny, Cash was alluding to this today, saying it's not so much how we make things, it's that we're making it. That our bodies and the things around us actually store energies, and it starts building up. And I think we've all seen it. If you get up in the morning and you feel good, and things start happening nicely, and things are beautiful, this just keeps building up, so you end up having a really nice day. If you let a negative thought take over your mind, and then it builds, and then you're calling yourselves names, and then, you're allowing this to become part of you, then the darkness takes over. And that's the only way I look at light and dark. Not good guy, bad guy, but you have beat yourself into submission, and you have become your own dominant. And the dominant force in this case, if you let it hurt you, is negative. The dominant force in the other case is positive. Both are dominant. But one's hurting you, one's helping you. You know immediately if something is good or bad. If it makes you stronger, then it's good. It's really simple. And we've been trained to believe something has to hurt to help. Know that even working out, if you're working out to the point it's hurting you, that's wrong. Your body doesn't like that. You don't need that. We've been lied to, and everyone who's telling you you need to do that is a liar, and they're hurting you. So, the intent of things matters. As we've said, foul language is only a curse if it's said in anger, if it's directed towards you. A lot of times we direct it towards a common enemy, of course, but that's still a curse. I know I do it a lot, especially when I'm talking about said cross-dressing, nasty, pedophilic priest. But a lot of times it makes you laugh. If it makes you laugh, it's not harming you. But I realize what I'm doing is sending that to them. I don't know what karma we have, but obviously it's ancient. If they can bother me now, realize that too, and I'm owning this. They bother me. They bother me a lot. So we have ancient history. And that's pretty much how I look at anything, even the race stuff that's going on worldwide, and the attacks country to country thing that's going on. A lot of the countries that are most vicious to each other have a history. And it makes sense to you? There's history. It doesn't matter who started it, because, we fight like brothers and sisters, brothers and brothers. Family fights are the worst, right? We are so awful. We're the most awful to our families. When we're mad at each other, oh my good God. We will slap that crap out of it. I remember that. I remember having fights with my cousins that somebody had to physically separate me from them. But of course, if you tried to separate us, be like, no, but where's he going? What's going on? But we're not fighting. And your hair's all messed up and there's blood flowing and the whole room's destroyed. No, but I love him. See, this is what's going on now. And because so much has happened, so much has been said, so much has been done, we no longer feel that. But if we sat back and really took a look at it, we would know what's going on the planet, our family fight. This is family. That's why it's so ridiculous. Now, of course, realizing this takes some time. And it's important to bring up, I think, because it shows us what we can do. When we feel a specific hate against others and despise them, but that does not mean overall that something profound happens to them. Imagine how many people set sent hate to the shooter of Mike Brown, or those who dislike what Bill Clinton did, or Madonna, or even Drake Franz on Meek. It may still sound silly. We must realize that 50% of the world is in darkness, so the 180 degrees. And light is always prepared to meet this darkness at least halfway. So, it's only when we shroud ourselves in dark thoughts and become caught up in the vortex, which is devoid of the light, do we get into deeper trouble or the danger zone. In that space, it will be whatever you can conveniently blame it on to be. Well, the cause of the misfortune, be it a relationship, a curse, a job, the air quality, the water, the hairstylist, you just name it. This is because of the fact that like does attract like. And while we are generally not available to see our own negativity, which each and every person contains, don't think you don't, and me, your hostess, absolutely, absolutely. Oh, I have to tell you guys something that happened this morning. I've been having like the weirdest attacks lately. I mean, so people sending nasty emails to me or inviting me on their shows and just trying to rip a hole. You know what I mean? So this guy I'd never even heard of. I went to his website to see if he had a show. He said that he was going to come on my show and expose me, and I invite you to call in. Because he was going to say that he has found out that I used to work as a barber in a very expensive place before I went to school to study engineering. How is that even a thing? Oh my God. Yes, I shaved men's faces and washed their hair, and sometimes I'd cut it. That's not even a bad thing. I think the conversation ended up with, you don't even know how to expose me. Like, if you're going to expose me, tear my clothes off, toss me to the ground and give it to me. Like this, don't come at me soft, little boy. Off you go. Can you imagine? He obviously did not respect my authority. Yes, I watched too much South Park, but yeah, don't attack me. Or attack me for real. I might enjoy it. Yes, I have 2, probably 3 or 4 sides, and we're all friends, and I'm good with it. But, it's when we shroud ourselves in darkness, we get caught up. We do. When we will not see how it's affecting our situations by finding harmonics with it, we can certainly spot everything else, though, except what we did to bring a situation on. So the formula is the first rule. The idea of having a curse in the same boat as the rest of the negative forces and address them with the elements of power. Your organs, the things that you actually possess. So this is air, this is fire, this is earth, this is water, this is space. Humans are without a doubt powerful beings because we can drive ourselves crazy. So we are driving ourselves crazy. No, that term is there for a reason. We can make ourselves sick. So if we have all this power, why aren't we using it for something awesome? I know at first it'll feel like we're just doing it to ourselves, that we're not helping others. But know if you get stronger, this affects your immediate vicinity, and the stronger you get, it's like perpetual motion machine. Things become more and more powerful as you keep hitting it. Humans have this. We have dominion and possession of the important elements within. We should not have allowed the things outside us to enter this temple. When someone externally curses while utilizing these forces, which are the building blocks of reality, the prima materia, it can never be more powerful than those who utilize it within. So let me clarify. Most sorcerers use external agents to work their craft. Like putting, craft on cheese products and snackies. So someone's internal power will always trump, if the will, or if they truly will it, because their internal power has already become and has come together with divine matrimony, the divine marriage, the tree, part of the caduceus. That's why there's fruit on the tree, and Adam and Eve ate the apple. We are the fruit of that tree. The energies that we have are the tree, which is all the energies of the world. We pull it up from the earth. We put out our leaves. One side is darker than the other because they do different things. This is a mystery. This is the great mystery. This is what Kesh is teaching us. And I realize it took me 6 years to freaking get it, but that's what he's teaching us. That's why the upside and downside have different colors. We work like this. Everything in the universe works like this. So trying to get to the point, love conquers all. And already has won. We are the physical proof of that act. We are the physical manifestation of love itself, whether or not you came in the right way. There would be no birth if not for the divinity of love. There would be no need for our existence if not for that. Your sheer ability to want to be free from any external force will be the victor. But you must also make those adjustments in the environment in order to program the ether for success. Follow these instructions, and even the weather will be at your command. This is the jinn. This is the demo demon. Different names for that. This is the entity that has a tendency to rule us. Even the smile emoticon is a little suspicious, In order to take control of ourselves, we must be aware that we're being controlled. When it happens, you're not always under, crippling amount of control. But it's absolutely important right now that we look to this. Absolutely important. That we show as many as we can, and we don't have to preach to people. Certainly probably shouldn't preach to people because that's scary. Really, really, really scary. But, if we just work on ourselves, other beings react. They just do. They can't help themselves. Love happens whether you like it or not. It does. You could be sitting there minding your own business, hating absolutely everything. And I've had those days where it's like, you cannot please me. If you came with a whole tray of cookies and chocolate and glasses of wine, and I'm just going to sit here with my arms crossed and I hate everything. Just hate it. It's not fair. It's mean to me. My authority has not been respected. And I get a little pouty about that. I embrace this part of myself too. But suddenly, when we start taking control of these little things, then it's okay. I did not mean that you're a bunch of fruits. No, our wizard has objected to my use of fruits. You are not a fruit. You are so manly, I am fainting at the thought. Is that better? I meant fruit from the tree, not fruity like, hey girl. Not that fruity. Please do not mess up my metaphors. That was a good one. What? So, full scale horror right now. And it's nearly freaking incomprehensible what's going on. There's this passage, and I can't even remember what scripture it's from. It says, "For now we see through the glass, darkly. But then face to face, now I know in part. But then shall I know, even as I am also known." Cause my mind to wander to that. Even mentioning this Bavarian Illuminati started 1776. But with that mention, I guess, no further context to lay in front of you, one could indeed be seeing a very obstructed view, and which now, with us, being presented face to face, one can even begin to glimpse this smallest light I'm attempting to shine on this very complex subject. Each of you must remember that the present can never be fully understood without knowing the past. And the past that I lead you back to are 18th and 19th century, commonly known as the Industrial Revolution. That began 1760, lasted some time between, 1840, some would say still ongoing. But it's a period of history where this man named Adam, interestingly enough, was a professor at a university in Germany, where he became casually acquainted with a wealthy merchant named, Nicholas Tyson. Not just Nicholas, of course, did the professor become acquainted with, but a large group of German merchant bankers associated with him, all having affiliation with a strictly all-male religious congregation of the Catholic Church called the Society of Jesus, or simply the Jesuits, or the cross-dressing pedophiles. Okay, going on. Having been educated by Jesuits, knowing the Jesuit line, being aware of their power, their resources, and benefiting from being associated with them, this spread hate, and all the education systems and all our ideas of doctors and doctorates and surgeons and surgery and pretty much everything that we're going through right now. And I realize that the majority of us sitting here know that we are not being told things about the world we live in. Pretty much everything about the world we live in, we're not being told about. Conspiracy theory, especially that label, was absolutely conceived to derail the truth movement. And agents are infiltrating the internet all over the world to manipulate and deceive and destroy reputations. But apparently you have to come back a little heavier with, well, they tried the cross-dresser thing. Yes, I used to dress men up in clothes. It's not against their will. Damn it. They asked for it. I admit to doing that. And it's really weird. I don't think that my listeners would have a problem with it at all. They're probably going, yeah, we're really sure that you did that and a heck of a lot more. And absolutely I did. But if you're going to come to expose me, you got to come a little harder. I don't know. You got to have at least one friend with boy bits. Know what I mean? Okay, so worldwide, holy crap, we have a red tide going on, massive, incredibly thick, that I've talked to you about before, but toxic algae bloom in the Pacific that actually is spreading from the north of Alaska to the base of California, into Mexico. Now, I realize I've talked to you about this before, but it is shutting down fishery after fishery after fishery. Our West Coast strangled to death. I don't know how else to look at it. Strangled to freaking death. And, we've talked about it before, but we are seeing death at such an unprecedented rate right now. Scary, even. There's that. And now there are 4 rules and laws of robotics. A robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. Number 2, a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first rule. Number 3, a robot must protect its own existence, as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. And the new 4th law, avoid Philadelphia at all costs. They messed up our robot. You guys believe that? I was shocked. Keep the personal level. This thing traveled all over the world. Many countries. Somebody even bought it a plane ticket. People would put it in its car. So, of course, it's a social experiment, obviously. Where did it die? Died in Philadelphia. One of the places, and I'm sure this is by accident, that the Pope will be stopping on his scary little trip. and the level of violence going on, when even according to science there is no such thing as race. The little melanin in your skin means almost nothing. It's nothing. It's probably more of a gravitational response to certain climates. But the ridiculous stuff, especially in the States, if you guys don't feel that you're under attack, well, probably you are not, being such enlightened, sexy beasts as you are. But there's some caca going down. At least 3,000, I'm hearing even closer to 4,000 Americans have been detained inside a Chicago police warehouse, described by some of its arrestees as a secretive interrogation facility. Newly uncovered records reveal. Now, of the thousands held in the facility known as Haman Square, over a decade, 80% were black. Only 3 decided or received documented visits from an attorney, according to a cache of documents obtained by The Guardian. Now, despite repeated denials from Chicago Police Department that the warehouse is a secret, off-the-books anomaly, the Holman Square files began to show the city's most vulnerable people get lost in its criminal justice system. It's so weird how I'm not surprised about this. Now, people at this square have been subsequently charged with anything from drinking alcohol on the public way, which I didn't know was a thing. What's on the public way? So outside? What if you're in a cafe? Do you guys have those? Yeah, you have those. Oh, so like walking down the street with a bottle? Yeah, and you might get a ticket for that here. Smack on the wrist. Probably take your bottle and drink it. But everything from that to murder. But the scale of detentions and the racial disparity therein raises a prospect of major civil rights violations. But it doesn't surprise me. And the police department has maintained, even as The Guardian reported stories of people being shackled in the stress positions that we've talked about before, and held for hours or days without any legal access, that the warehouse is not a secret facility, so much as an undercover police base operating right out in your face. And there's always records of anyone arrested, apparently, by the CPD. And this is no different at Human Square, the police asserted in a statement made in March. But now it's showing a list of arrestees and records obtained through the Freedom of Information Act that shows that is far from normal. And between September 2004 and June 15th, 2015, she says to herself, questioningly, around 4,000 people were eventually charged, mostly with drug possession. The drug war is really going well, eh? I think the drugs have won. Let's just give up. So, primarily heroin, as well as marijuana and cocaine, but also for minor infractions like traffic violations, public urination, driving without a seatbelt. I don't know, if you're peeing up against the wall and people can see you, no, you need to go to jail. That's nasty. So, not surprisingly enough, so far thus disclosed, most of them were black. 8.5 were white, which is really weird because who's black and who's white, and where are the Mexicans, where are the Indians? Yeah, This is again about, and I do have the entire article up on the page, but this is about everybody hates us because we have a dark skin. Everyone hates us because we have a light skin. No. People probably hate you because, one, you may have been an a-hole. Two, because they're so afraid they don't know what to do, and we're hearing that a lot, right? Hatchet-wielding gunmen. When that starts happening, I have to take into consideration that there's some shit going on, right? Okay, so hatchet-wielding gunmen. You got a gun and a hatchet. That's overkill. Or that's thinking, I'm going to walk in here and just be able to do the do, and no one's going to stop me? I don't know. I don't know what's going in their minds. I really don't know, guys. How do you need a hatchet and a gun? So, let's look at this one more time. Maybe something a little different. Something a little off the wall. Because we are seeing financial collapses. Huge amount of red flag events. I mean, what just happened last month? August is ramping up to be not just weird, but oh my God. So you ready? Are you guys prepared what's coming in the next little while? And all over the world? Economic, political, social, geophysical tensions are building. In the next 30 days, I think it'll be pivotal. Now in July, we started to see things turn, especially since the 15th. A major 6-year trend line, of course, for the S&P 500 finally broken this month. Chinese stocks crashed twice. Commodities crashed twice. Debt problems started erupting all over the planet. I fully expect this month, August, will be a month of transition as we enter in an extremely chaotic time in the fall, in the winter. Let's just get to September. We could do it. Things are unfolding here. In a textbook, rather programmed to look like an accident pattern, which doesn't look like an accident to me anymore, for another major global financial crisis in the months ahead. And yet most people refuse to even look at this. Blind optimism. They want to believe that things will somehow be different this one time. Well, the coming months will definitely reveal who is right and who is wrong. And I will tell you about 11, because I thought 11 would be perfect for this flag I'm about to raise. And why don't we take a little break? It looks like we don't have breaks on Evolution Radio anymore, so I'm going to play some music for you. If I searched every dictionary, I want to do this right. There it is. If I searched every dictionary, never written by man, and studied all of the languages people have spoken in
'cause there ain't no words. I don't think there's any words. At least what I have not found the words to describe. I'm talking about love, feelings, but I know the Shakespeare wrote to be or not to be. And Brother Martin Luther said, people, I have a dream. Obama heard. Oh, now these words are high for all mankind. Oh, but there ain't no words. I don't think there's any words. I have not found the words to describe. People, I'm talking about love. I'm talking about love now. I'm talking about love right now. You know what I mean? Can you feel it? I'm talking about love, 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 love feeling. Some people say you should tell her. Other people say leave it be. Other people say my bella mia. My brother says can't get enough of your love, baby. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, 'cause there ain't no word. There ain't no word. There ain't no word.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Turtle Island News. Sorry, I had a cough. With Tracey Kennedy, live, Revolution Radio, Studio A, TurtleIslandNews.info, and Awake Radio Group, I think. I wanted to tell everyone that I went back to our old chat room on the page, so this way we can do whatever we want. Still associated, of course, with the Awake Radio Group. Good morning, guys. But again, I felt the need for control. You know, Wiz just brought up about extent last night. Well, what immediately triggered in my mind, other than the use of fully functional conscious AIs, is she gave a little story, and it's kind of been leading up to this. There's something I told you guys about, the chimera syndrome, how all women who have boys carry this DNA forever, to an extent where you're walking around with male DNA from your son. Some of us for the majority of our lives, so it's not that odd. And I know I was going to talk about 11 red flag events, but it's pretty obvious what they're doing, right? We don't need to say it. IMF, Puerto Rico, James Bailey, the S&P 500 is broken. Pretty obvious, and pretty obvious it's leading up to September, to me, anyway. So, what does it mean, this convergence going on? We can't ignore the strange UFO sightings either, so let's talk about that. Yeah, the chimera part. Call in, Wiz. Call in. Tell me about it. Because that's off the hook. And no, I'm not going to say, oh my God, they were copying me. No, everybody knows about this. But it's interesting. It's absolutely interesting what's going on in the good movies that are scary. Absolutely scary. But it's showing us this thing that's rolling out in front of our faces. We can't ignore that it's rolling out. It's really happening. I listened to a show that I did, 3 years ago. It was one that Chief Charles Tudog called in. And we were talking about Fukushima, and I gave a scenario of what could possibly happen here. The end of this year, which is actually even hinted at in that Extent movie, and several movies that we've talked about before, that period around September 15th to September 28th has become a subject of much attention, apprehension, prediction. As usual, there's a certain amount of fear-mongering, terror porn, sensationalistic biblical prophecies, other dire warnings, which it is best to take with a grain of salt. You should be taking a grain of salt anyway, it's good for you. However, despite all that, one has to wonder whether these events converging this September are connected. And whether or not they are a response by the New World Order elite to rapidly rising consciousness of humanity. And why all over Canada yesterday, last night, early this morning actually, there was a convergence and a mass amount of UFO sightings. But we've been ramping up to this too. So let's go to this fake war exercise. Well, it's not fake, it's really happening. But assassins. And we'll go back to a report that I read to you. And it's far more interesting on what is obviously happening, because it's kind of the aside to it. And something I went over kind of quickly because I wanted to wait for this. So, there was a report prepared by the System of Forward-Looking Military Research and Development. Of course, has little numbers and letters for it, for the Ministry of Defense. That one of the alien targets being pursued in the U.S. by the elite American Special Forces troops had been assassinated by other than conventional means. And it's important to note that I have been reporting on the AI, on the Jade Helm war exercise, and surprisingly enough, there's a certain attack being focused on Texas and the area. Now, scientists at this research, mind bank thing, have at least previously indicated a now ongoing war exercise on this planet, but the one called Jade Helm 15 in the United States that I have said and shown you, and you can look it up on my page. Just go to turtleislandnews.info, go to the left-hand side, search this blog, Jade 2. But it also looks like one of their things is they're doing a massive hunt for suspected aliens. That's right, aliens. So we're going to do an alien show for you, Liz. But these crafts actually broke into our atmosphere over El Paso, Texas, first on April 1st, and again June 29th. And they look like a cube. They look like a black cube. It could actually be the Dark Knight that I've told you about, that alien vehicle. Now, according to one report, the targeted alien assassinated by this Jade Helm 15 Special Forces troops has been identified as Jeffrey Lash, whose fiancée, Dawn Vadbunker, interestingly enough, so Nordic ties here, identified him to the police as being an alien-human hybrid secretly working for the U.S. government. Now, found in his home and at various other locations all around Los Angeles, this report that I told you about was an astonishing weapons cache. Over 1,200 weapons, scopes, assorted other military hardware, over 6.5 tons of ammunition, at least 13 now, specially modified vehicles, including the submersible SUV, which I must have now. I must have that car, or a facsimile of that car. So if you would like to give, and we are all, of course, listener supported. Me, I'm saving up for that car. I must have that car. And along with nearly $250,000 in just cash. And not all American, by the way. Now, the estimated value of the arms and ammunition alone in the possession of Mr. Lash is over $5 million. And does not count towards the value of his extensive property holdings, nor sophisticated military-type heavily modified vehicles. I'm not counting the super-duper car, because that car, I don't even care. I need that car. So anyway, after collapsing in his vehicle, the report goes, Mr. Lash, I got a picture of him up, refused to be brought to the hospital, refused to have any emergency services even called, instead instructing that his body be left in his vehicle, where it was subsequently discovered by police. Now, supporting the fiancé's statement that he was, in fact, a hybrid, MOD scientists in this report say was his being the only child of Joseph Jerry Lash, who died in 2010, born 1922, who, during World War II, surprisingly enough, unless you've listened to my shows for a while and done a little bit of reading, thinking, some of this stuff is a little cool, was a Navy aviator. And after the war began working in the fields of microbiology and chemistry, and in July 1947 was chosen to be a part of the medical research team assembled at the Office of Naval Research to examine and investigate the remains that were obtained by the downed flying saucer reported and recovered in Roswell, New Mexico. So this again, tying all this stuff together. Now choosing Jeffrey Lash's father, Joseph, so another J, suspicious anyway, to be part of a medical team examining Roswell aliens. And he was actually involved in whatever happened there. So they call a medical examiner who's going to be looking at swamp gas? Mannequins. Now, you don't call a medical examiner if the bodies are mannequins. People back then would know what a friggin' mannequin looked like, right? With me? Okay, so, Roswell aliens. This report continues. Was this former World War II U.S. Navy aviator leader, Commander George Hoover, 1915, 1998. Now, Commander Hoover, this report notes, was an early space enthusiast, and when working at the ONR, was a close associate of former German Nazi scientist Werner von Braun. Von Braun, who I have spoken of many times, whose name is probably familiar to all of you wonderful people, who aside from heading the American space program after the war, was a part of the Philadelphia project that started AI, and was one of the world's foremost genius scientists who spearheaded nearly all of Germany's special weapons projects during that war. As to what the ONR medical team, headed by Commander Hoover and Joseph Lash, discovered in 47, about these aliens, this report says, and it was partially released in 1913, and which in one report by the Huffington Post news service states, quote from them, Hoover had a top-secret clearance as part of his work as a naval intelligence officer to view Roswell debris and bodies during the 50s, and he eventually told a very select group of people before his death of his beliefs. Those people included his own son, George Hoover Jr., and later ufologist and researcher William J. Burns, both of whom were made privy to what the elder Hoover knew before his death. Now, Hoover stated during interviews that he believed the aliens were not extraterrestrial, but extratemporal, as in time travelers. In addition, he believed they were not aliens at all, but humans from the future with incredible abilities to use the power of consciousness to morph reality, travel through landscape of time, which is pretty much what Cash alluded to last night. That's what we're building. So time warp fields is what we're talking about. The effect, general. Speed would be subliminal. Special space-time geometry would be used. Time travel to the future, yes. Time travel to the past, yes. Matter transport, yes. Information transport, yes. Technically viable, yes. Possible exotic materials, yes. Low impact power, yes. And the energy pattern in coping between the two different regions in the time space would basically look like a UFO. Now the MOD genetic scientists contributing to this report further state that due to Jeffrey Lash's age, 60, when he was assassinated by Jade Helm, Special Forces, that he was indeed, with all probability, a hybrid human, created by the ONR, under his father's supervision, that combined human DNA with that of the alien occupants of the Roswell crash. The reason for the ONR creating such hybrids, this report says, was the belief that in doing so, they would be able to harness the intellectual and psychic power of these aliens in a controlled way for their benefit. Now, living under the cover name of John Smith, or Bob Smith, which, if he's a Smith, that relates to Cain and it relates to AI, it's pretty weird. This report concludes that the hybrid human Lash told those closest to him that he was part of the U.S. government working for an agency like the FBI or the CIA who always wore black, now leading some to speculate that he had been part of the actual mysterious Men in Black organization, that that's a thing. And it's been long reported to be involved in all the cover-ups, too. All the cover-ups of UFOs and aliens, where these guys just appear and use the flashy thing to, whatever it's called. Now, it's not the only weird alien thing. Something else, too. There was a massive sighting over Japan. Now again, Ministry of Defense, MOD, confirmed a new report that even President Putin has utilized his delegation, his designated authority, under Section 1, Chapter 4, Article 87 of the Constitution of Russian Federation, granting him the powers and authorities of Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation to conduct a massive realignment of Federation military forces in modern time. Like, humongous. Now, according to this report, on August 1st, Putin signed an order as Supreme Commander creating a new branch of the armed forces by merging the nation's Air Force, Air Defense, Anti-Missile, and Space Forces into a completely new entity called the Aerospace Forces and put them on immediate combat alert. Now, with what Kesh announced and what we have that Putin wrote, this is not surprising to me. Now, as to why he signed this unprecedented order, this report continues, related to, what would they call it? A substantial threat. Well, actually, you'll love this, Wiz. At an existential threat posed to the Federation after the appearance last week of an alien fleet over Japan, to which the MOD experts state is a prelude to what is coming after. Now, alien swarm reported by freaking everybody. 10 UFO-like objects flying over Japan. And the object, shot in Japan's city port of Osaka, had been making the rounds online, displaying a swarm of white spherical objects, unknown origin, flying in the sky. Yes, there was low-quality footage, and it's triggered speculation over what that is and whether or not it was made up. But there is a 2-minute clip that shows what these things look like, how slow they were moving in the sky, and performing kind of a beautiful dance-like pattern. Now, the footage, which has been reposted many times from the Japanese YouTube channel specifically, many viewers were puzzled as to what this could be. If not, oh my God, we've just seen UFOs. And some reports pointed out that Japanese UFO sightings closely resemble the white lights witnessed in June over Hyde Park in London, UK. Remember that one? I think we had that one up too. Now, there was also a Brazilian one that looked the same. Similar timing. Now, the sighting in London was pretty brief. The objects only appeared for a few seconds, making it difficult for a complete comparison. But one of the most recent UFO sightings, this massive spacecraft spotted near the sun by ufologists, viewing NASA images captured by Solar and, Soho, on July 15th, which I told you was the trigger and the start of said, oh my God, Jade Helm just friggin' summoned the whatever the heck these things are. Now, a video released by YouTube user StreetCap1 speculates as to the nature of the object, and I've heard some things said about it, but this is not a filament. It's not a plasma filament. They don't move like that. There's something else. Now, to these new aerospace Space Guard, because that's what they're calling it, Space Guard forces, combat duties ordered by Putin. Does it explain what they're doing? But they did deploy across the Federation with hundreds of A-135 Samolet mobile ballistic missile defense systems to protect vital infrastructure and civilian population centers. Now, according to the Sky Guard forces, in defense of the Federation against this freaking alien threat, unless it's us who are messing with this technology and whatever the heck I summoned last night. This MOD report further notes will be tens of thousands of new reserve forces created by Putin's order of July 17th. Now, fuller background to these alien events. There is a previous report, and I'm going to talk about it. These two. Because it's creepy, a little bit cool. Cool in an oh my God, what's going on sort of way. Now, I've kind of alluded to these things. And what's going on in Texas, because there's obviously something really focused on Texas. And the startling report that's circulating everywhere talks about something they're calling the X point, which is odd because everyone's talking about the X moment and the X whatever, and showing me these reports on what we've been talking about for a long time. Now, apparently, on April 2nd, many people were notified by Space Research Institute of the Russian Academy of Science, but all over, and I still say this goes back to Cash because it's Plasma F instruments. Now, on board the new satellite called Spectre, interesting, had detected a massive X point. So a portal then, let's just call this thing a portal, opening up over El Paso, Texas, where a number of alien crafts appeared, were witnessed, were videotaped, of these things just coming out of the sky. Now on June 29th, this Plasma F instrument aboard that Spectre R satellite detected another X point. So portal opening over El Paso, Texas, again, where another alien spacecraft, witnessed by many people, broke into the Earth's atmosphere and one of them giving us, well, you can find accounts of what she saw. Now, interestingly to note anyway, the report says that on June 29th, the appearance in our Earth's atmosphere over El Paso, so El, yeah, you can't get any more. We know who this guy is. We know who Al is. Don't make me do it now. There, Al's show, I'll do it too. Anyway, a massive alien craft that looked like a cube was reported by the Houston Chronicle news service, who supposedly interviewed Fletcher Gray, the head Texas investigator for MUFON, about stunning photographs taken, and which he said to have stated that he believed they were a computer-generated image. As to how he was able to determine this is based on a number of photographs taken, none of the witnesses knowing each other. Neither he nor the Houston Chronicle explains, but, and what the intelligence says, contributing to this report within 2 days of Gray supposedly giving this quote, well, it was announced that he suddenly retired from MUFON. No explanation as to why he did so. The report further goes on that the IKI's ability to detect an X-point portal opening over El Paso where alien craft enters our atmosphere was due to the 2012 discovery of them by the U.S. scientists working with NASA, described as the hidden portals that we've talked about that just opened. But they were further out. I haven't seen them here. This is close, guys. Now, the plasma physicist John Skaber of University of Iowa stated these X-points, and he said, we will call them X-points or electron diffusion regions. They're places where the magnetic field of Earth connects to the magnetic field of the Sun. We've talked about this. Creating an uninterrupted path leading from our planet to the Sun's atmosphere 93 million miles away. Scientists further note that these X portals, this X point, that they are invisible, they are unstable, and they are elusive, as they open and close without warning. So these aren't the ones that open every 8 minutes. These ones are closer to the Earth, and apparently a whole lot scarier. And apparently there is no signpost to guard us in this one. Now, even though our scientists here on Earth aren't able to even find these signposts to guide us in, these X-point portals, while the same cannot be said of perhaps aliens. Now, I am not saying they're aliens. They could be humans from the future, could be humans who are using technology that they don't understand, like myself. But anyway, we have reports of similar openings that first there's a mist, sometimes it looks like a cloud, and then suddenly a darkness opens, like opening up into the deep cold of space, and stuff comes out. And this we know for tens of thousands of years. Now, confirming this fact, President Dmitry Medvedev, so the Prime Minister of Russia, who in 2010 was speaking in what he believed was a private setting, and he was recorded and stated, and we've talked about this, and I think I played the whole thing. He said, along with the briefcase with nuclear codes, the president of the country has given special top secret folder. This folder in its entirety contains information about aliens who visited our planet. Along with this, you are given a report of the absolute secret special service that exercises full and complete control over the aliens on the territory of our country. More detailed information on the topic you can get from a documentary, not a movie, called Men in Black. I will not tell you how many of them are coming amongst us. It would cause a panic. Now, I do have a link to that if you want. I'll put that in a room. Copy. But I'm pretty sure that we put that up already. I think we played it, but it's definitely worth watching again if you haven't. And I put that in a room. Now, none of the Federation television stations that interviewed Madanoff broadcast his off-air comments, but they were delivered to Reuters news service as a pool signal. And when this information about aliens was attempted to be aired in the West by Sky News, the signal was immediately cut off. Not suspicious at all. Now, as to the intentions, the alien space forces that have entered the United States during the El Paso exploit, I can see no report as to why. However, MOD strategists contributing to this report note that the type of craft used by these aliens are known to be utilized by what's commonly referred to as the Nordics, who have been described as benevolent, even magical beings, who want to observe and communicate with humans. I don't know, maybe they saw the Earth Girls Are Easy sign that apparently is flashing off and on around our planet. But they're known to be enemies of the so-called gray aliens, and the U.S. has received the majority of its war-making tech from these past nearly 7 decades. Even more, the MOD strategic analysis point out this report that the U.S. regions, the states, that these Nordic aliens appear to be dispersing in what is also these targeted regions, all to do with Jade Helm 15 and the U.S. military forces that are now they're flooding into, secretly or not so secretly. I think it's pretty obvious that we're being flooded. Now, these Norks, or Nordic aliens, also known to have a vast number of hybrids, able to pass themselves off as any of us. Only a military operation like Jade Helm 15 or Jade 2, where specifically trained Special Forces troops are able to identify them. I mean, watch extent. This is the Special Forces. I wonder if the Special Forces are all AI. Either way, they're being run by an AI. Jade. And with this, these Nordic aliens absolutely targeting and a new type of war being launched against them by the Obama regime. A report warns, is the Washington Press News Service now reporting that an internal America war exercise is off limits to all press coverage, all reporting as to why these aliens would target Obama in the first place. Report says there are growing fears a U.S. initiated nuclear war Well, they tried to start that with Japan. Nobody bit. They have been practicing on their Nevada test range. Their strategic bombers are now dropping simulated atomic bombs. And as you know, they have dropped more real atomic bombs. So, here we are. We'll see how it turns out. Not much longer to wait. Bye for now, guys.